Hello and welcome to this Astranti video. It was Benjamin Franklin who once said, "Nothing is certain except death and taxes." And it's the latter of those two which we'll be considering today. Specifically, we'll be looking at the difference between direct and indirect taxation, something you'll need to understand for your BA1 and F1 exams. This is an extract from Chapter 10 of our BA1 course. If you want to view the full video, you can access it on the Astranti website. What's more, on there you'll be able to find study texts, mock exams and revision notes, all designed to help you pass your CIMA exams. And if that hasn't already convinced you to check out our website, you'll be pleased to learn that all of our CIMA certificate resources can be accessed for free. But for now, let's jump straight into this extract and learn about direct and indirect taxation.
Let's have a look at what direct taxation is. So, direct taxes are those taxes on people's or organisations' earnings or increases in wealth. There are several examples of direct taxes, and the first of these is taxes on income. Taxes on income include corporation tax, which are taxes paid by companies. They also include income tax, which are taxes paid by working individuals, the self-employed, or partners in a partnership. Another type of direct taxation is the tax on capital gains. Now that might sound slightly confusing, but put simply, the tax on capital gains is a tax on gains made on the disposal of assets. Let's consider an example. In 2000X1, someone buys a house for $100,000. However, in 2000X4, they sell the house for $140,000. They've disposed of their asset, the house, but they've made a gain of $40,000. So therefore, there's a tax on those $40,000 profit. Quite simple, really, isn't it? So now we've looked at direct taxation, let's have a look at indirect taxation. So we know that direct taxes are taxes on people's or organisations' earnings or increases in wealth. But an indirect tax is imposed on one section of the economy. For example, it might be imposed on companies, but it's intended that the burden of paying the tax will be borne by another section of the economy. There are many different examples of indirect taxation. These include ad valorem taxes, unit taxes, excise duties, property taxes, consumption taxes, and wealth taxes. Let's look at each of these in more detail, starting with ad valorem taxes. Ad valorem taxes may also be known to you as value added tax, VAT, or sales taxes are also an example of ad valorem taxes. Ad valorem taxes is simply a general term for any tax which is charged based on the value of the transaction. For example, let's say that a jacket, before tax, costs $45 to the retailer. However, the retailer is then obliged to add a sales tax of 5%. So 5% of $45 is $2.25. So what would the end cost be to the consumer? Well, the customer has to pay the cost of the jacket before tax plus the tax, so the customer has to pay $47.25. So that's not too difficult. Let's move on now to looking at unit tax. A unit tax is a tax expressed as a value in currency related to a specified number of items sold, or it might be for the weight of an item. For example, you might pay for some of your supermarket shopping in pounds per kilogram. Or another example is that you might have a tax on a specific packet of cigarettes. Now let's move on to looking at excise duties. Excise duties are taxes levied on the sale or use of certain products. For example, it might be things such as alcohol, tobacco, energy, mineral oils, and on vehicles. These can be charged either as an amount per quantity, so a unit tax, or a percentage of the value of the product, ad valorem, or even both. Let's consider pipe tobacco in Germany. Now, pipe tobacco has an excise duty imposed in Germany, as of 2016, of €15.66 per kilogram, plus 13.13% of the gross price. In this example of excise duty, the €15.66 per kilogram is our example of a unit tax, and the 13.13% is our example of the ad valorem tax. Let's move on to looking at property taxes. Now, hopefully this isn't too unexpected. Property taxes are levied on the sale, purchase or rent of property, or on transactions linked to the sale of a property. For example, stamp duty in the UK is a tax on the sale of commercial or private property, so that's an example of property taxes. Let's have a look at another example. Now, Helen buys a house for £400,000. The sale of this property is subject to a stamp duty of 3%, so Helen must pay an additional tax of £12,000. So now we've got to grips with property taxes, let's move on to consumption taxes. Now, at their basic level, these are taxes on the purchase of the value of goods or services, for example, a sales tax. These can come as either single stage or multi-stage. Single stage consumption taxes are only added at one specific stage in the production or sales process. For example, they might be just charged by the retailer, such as the sales taxes levied in the USA. A multi-stage tax is when a tax is levied each time the product is sold on throughout the whole manufacturing and retail process. For example, VAT in the UK. Finally, let's move on to looking at wealth taxes. Now, wealth taxes are charged as a percentage of the individual's wealth, and this is done on an annual basis. Just before we go any further on this, I'm just going to give a quick explanation of what we mean by wealth, because it seems like one of those words that we understand what it means. But to give a formal definition, when we say wealth, we mean the value of things that they own less the amounts they owe. So a wealth tax is a tax charged on the percentage of this. So now we've covered a whole different range of both direct and indirect taxation.
So that brings us to the end of today's video, and you should now be confident in understanding the differences between direct and indirect taxation. If you want to view the full video, this can be found for free on the Astranti website, along with our other CIMA certificate resources. If you've enjoyed this video and want to view more of our content, why not subscribe to one of our social media accounts? We can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course here on YouTube, where you can find a multitude of videos on a wide range of topics. Thanks for watching.